With a growing world population with more than 80 billion people, modern technological advances have given rise to life in mega metropolises. A recent study conducted by the New York Urban Institute indicates that citizens feel safer and more satisfied living among larger communities. Attila Ernak, head of anthropology and human behavior, goes on to say, "Never in the history of human civilization has there been an age as prosperous as today." He attributes two factors to the steep influx of urban living. First, technological developments have given residents an increase in personal security. And second, living in cities, particularly city centers, offers an abundance of all the basic necessities of life: food, water, and shelter. Hi, how are you? City life. Trouble in paradise? Several notable megacities have surpassed the 90 million population threshold, raising the alarm among distinguished scientists and scholars around the globe. Valentina Falco, an esteemed urbanization scientist, claims the viability of the model needs urgent attention. Left unchecked, life in megacities is headed for destruction, not in a matter of years, but a matter of months. At a recent talk, experts from various disciplines chimed in support of her views. In fact, many believe that the influx of unsustainable life in cities has resulted in too many veritable wastelands, rural areas going fallow, becoming arid, and being entirely depleted of nutrients to sustain any viable crops or wildlife. They believe that life on Earth will soon be impossible. The government, on the other hand, maintains that these are alarmist activists whose views are unsubstantiated and that our current system is under control. They have no comment to the report of unrest and riots on the rise in low-income neighborhoods attributed to a shortage of basic necessities. No future. Planet on the brink of collapse. Humankind is facing an unprecedented crisis that's threatening the survival of our species. The most recent population figures shows our planet is home to some 90 billion people. Governments have claimed that their hands are tied. They've run out of solutions to provide their citizens with access to life's most basic necessities. Food scarcity and energy shortages are a growing and alarming reality for most citizens. What's more is that these issues are profoundly compounding our dwindling healthcare and education systems, the same systems that in recent years has become accessible only to the wealthiest among us. While some leaders are putting radical measures into place trying to gain control of the situation, most scholars fear that any solution will be too little, too late. World leaders turn to biotechnology to fight hunger. Coalitions of governments have been working together to tackle the hunger crisis, and they have just announced an extreme and controversial step. They claim that corpses of the recently deceased can be recycled and are safe for human consumption. At this point, massive processing plants are being erected across the globe to produce food products from cadavers. The new human protein processors, or HPP, will provide food, protein, and in particular for vast populations using an effective and low-cost model. The adoption of new regulations will also allow the governments to execute convicts, invalids, and poor, sick, and homeless people to supply human protein processor facilities with the most needed meat. The scientist Marie Mitchell commented, "Although the measure may be unpleasant, it is undoubtedly very consistent in this very populated and starving world, where even the management of the corpses has become an almost impossible task." Mega clean megacities. The recent measures put into place have made our megacities as cleaner as they've ever been. Sites of crowded hospitals are a thing of the past, and criminals and beggars have vanished from our streets. The once fearful citizens are celebrating and praising the government's actions. However, focal points of indigence and crime have been detected in the barren lands near the cities. The authorities have already sent convoys and military forces to facilitate the collection and subsequent transfer of these no longer citizens to their designated units. The Department for Environment, Food, and Rural Affairs has released a statement claiming that our food supply is more sustainable than ever. Now that 60% of our food is being sourced from the new HPP 9000, our reliance on farming has significantly dropped, allowing us to live more efficiently in megacities. At the same time, this overwhelming success in HPP adoption rates isn't being praised across the board. The Commission of Health and Food Safety has promoted consumption, claiming HPP to be a rich source of iron and B vitamins, and several experts consider HPPs to be the best scientific advance since penicillin. An upsurge in medical anomalies. As it was stated in the last World Health Congress, in recent years there has been an increase in the number and severity of mental illnesses such as dementia, Alzheimer, and schizophrenia. Many experts blame the eating habits that have been imposed in recent years, claiming that could interact in a pernicious way with the human brain. In northern states, there are more than 100 affected by a rare disease that, although not lethal, produces a great aggression and nervousness similar to the rabies that affects some animals. Families of those affected are concerned for their safety and have demanded the health authorities to translate those affected to health care centers. New pandemic unleashes fury on world population. New strains of rabies-like infections are taking hold of more than 750,000 citizens. The virus is not only highly contagious, but seems to be mutating with each new generation, affecting the incubation time that have shifted from months to just days, and maybe even minutes in the near future. Dr. Leonidas Molnar, head of the NIDA, National Infectious Disease Institute, claims that pathogens of this strain of the virus have been traced back several years. Back then, the virus took months of incubation before infected people noticed the effects, resulting in an unparalleled rate and scope of spread of this highly contagious strain. The virus is rewriting the medical text. Humankind simply hasn't experienced such rapid transmission rates or such profound effects. The effects of Dr. Molnar refers to are a result of rapid changes to infected people when becoming agitated or angered. They include an initial loss of consciousness and a reduction in parasympathetic responses, fatigue, pain, and other basic human sensations, with the exception of an insatiable hunger for fresh. Government responses have been swift, executing the infected without delay. First strains of the viruses were referred to as rabies B. Shortly thereafter, rabies C took hold. There have now been over 20 strains of increasingly more devastating strains of the virus. Most recently, rabies Z, our current plague, is destructing the world as we know it. Government sources have confirmed that under NIDI, National Infectious Disease Institute's supervision, several fortified research facilities are being built, and a team of the most esteemed biochemical scientists and engineers have been assembled to fight the infection. A new era of hope. Our armed forces continue to painstakingly fight to contain and neutralize the infected without success. It's estimated that 10 new infected appear after each kill. The government has reacted by arming citizens in efforts to protect themselves and others. It's not gone unnoticed that this appears to be a strategy of enlistment. On the scientific front, researchers at the Gamma Medical Center have been experimenting with cutting-edge therapies in pursuit of a cure for the pandemic. Dr. Gage Whitney, head of the Children's Ward, has stated that thanks to the use of electroshock and ultrasound therapy combined with controlled doses of radiation, we have seen promising progress on younger patients. Dr. Whitney attributes most of the success to her colleagues at the Omicron Laboratory, where a group of leading bioengineers have successfully contained a sizable group of living specimens of infected, which they are presently studying with unrelenting scrutiny in order to categorize the infected. This attempt to categorize the various types of infected may be the key to finding a cure in the near future. The efforts to exterminate the infected have transformed our megacities into destitute ruins. Bombs, napalm fire, and nuclear weaponry have devastated our once beautiful civilizations, leaving hellish reminders in their wake. While many infected have been killed, they're increasing in troubling numbers. Experts claim that the infected outnumber humans 100,000 to 1. Most survivors are fleeing megacities, seeking refuge in the vast unknown. But the infected lay in wait for the familiar scent of human flesh, a detection of pheromones, even a muted sound. They are in the hundreds of millions now, and together they ravage their prey with a fury unlike any other. Their insatiable hunger has led the infected to expand their territory, searching for meat anywhere they can. They continue to migrate, many in hordes, others alone. After the fall of our nation's capital, the remaining government officials have regrouped within a few cities that are still under human control. The acting head of NIDI, National Infectious Diseases Institute, Dr. Whitney, has unveiled the details of Phoenix Project, the latest attempt to fight the pandemic through genetically modified humans. These new mutants will be as resilient, strong, and aggressive as the infected, while maintaining typical human intelligence and consciousness. Engineers have designed exoskeleton features that are said to increase speed and strength. These mutants could be the ultimate weapon in our fight for the survival of humankind.